Dean, thanks very much for coming on my first ever episode. Introduce yourself, please.
So, my name's Dean Robinson. I'm 20, I'm a student, live in Motherwell. I've been training with Derek now for just coming up about 9 months.
Perfect. So, Dean, the reason I want to do these podcasts is for people to see real people's stories, real people's successes, because a lot of people who follow my page have tried diets, failed diets, probably like you have as well. So I'm going to take you way back to the start, to when you probably tried your first diet. If you can talk me through, maybe not your first diet, but the first diet that you remember, talk me through it, talk me through how you were feeling, what you started and why it didn't work.
So, as long as I can remember, since I was maybe about 12, 13, I'd been overweight. I was always bigger than everybody else, and I was always like, I want to try and lose weight, So at first it was just simple stuff like cutting out rubbish foods, that kind of thing. But then I would just go back to it. Like when I was at school at lunchtime, like we would go like up to kind of Main Street, go to the Chippy, then go to like pound shop. Aye, exactly, all that good stuff. So then we would do things like that, go buy loads of sweets and stuff. Like I remember like virtually every single lunchtime I was buying like a packet of custard creams that had like 48 in it. Just eating them, throwing a couple of them about my classroom and that, but like eating the majority of them, do you know what I mean? So that was always the kind of struggles that I'd had with food. So then it was just trying to cut stuff like that out, but I was going for like one extreme to another. So I was going for eating all this mental food and doing basically whatever I wanted, like through my lunch times, and then I was like cutting all that out completely, and it would just never work because I couldn't stick to it. It wasn't sustainable. So that was pretty much it, and I would just basically yo-yo from one extreme to the other.
So you would find yourself going like hard dieting almost and saying, I'm going to cut out all the foods that I like, I'm going to cut out all the foods that taste good, and I'm just going to try and stick to something that's so regimented, and probably found yourself maybe a week or two into it and back to where you first started?
Yeah, 100%. Like that is exactly it. So to be fair to my mum, like she was always trying to make like healthy dinners for me, because she's obviously been trying to encourage me to kind of lose weight. Do you know what I mean? Because naturally she's worried, same with my dad. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, that's exactly what it was. So I'd be like going from eating like 2 rolls and sausage and chips and curry sauce at my lunchtime, and then like at dinner time eating like a pizza and whatever and just snacking constantly, to then going like total cold turkey and having like like salad at my lunchtime, and then going home having dinner and having like really, really small portions, which realistically now with what I know and stuff, it was never going to work. So I was setting myself up for failure, for like pretty much starving yourself and making yourself eat foods that you don't really enjoy, just for thinking, right, okay, well in a month's time I'm going to have a six-pack, look at the rock. Do you know what I mean?
So talk me through this. This is kind of same kind of situation for me at school. At school, I was pretty good at school academically. I was never the best. I know obviously you were at university and stuff, so obviously you were probably better at school than what I was. But I almost tried to be the class clown in school. And for me, that was a kind of way I'm asking my weight or maybe being accepted. And I've seen you've sent me some pictures of like food that you've been eating and stuff, and obviously you must have sent it to your mates and stuff. Yeah. I'm thinking, was that a kind of way for you to try and be accepted, do you think?
100%. Like that was always my thing. I would always play on it as a joke, so that nobody was going to make fun of me, because I would make jokes about my weight first and kind of use that to my advantage. So I was kind of like the funny fat guy. Do you know what I mean? And I'd been like that through my whole through my whole school, and then get into work and get into university. That was that sort of character that I played up to, sort of thing. So I felt like I fitted in and I was accepted. Do you know what I mean? People would want me to be around, even though I was like really, really insecure.
And you felt totally different?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. It wasn't, so much when I was younger, but see when we were like 16, 17 and we were going to like house parties and that kind of thing, that's where I really felt like I had to play up to that that character and make sure that I was involved in stuff. Do you know what I mean? Because in my head I'm thinking like, are people going to hang about me? That kind of thing. And then I'd be like, oh, do you know what? Like, forget about it. And then I'd be quite happy sort of eating my junk food and whatnot and playing up to it and being that that character.
Why do you think that none of these diets that you started or you tried to do throughout your youth, you're saying 12, 13, till you came to see me at 19, why do you think none of them worked?
I think there's a few reasons for a start. Like, I never really knew what I was doing. First of all, so you've educated me a lot about nutrition and diet and why you do this and do that. Like, I was pretty much starving myself. Like, I must have been trying to eat like 1,200 calories every day. when I was at school, and I think I must have been about 20 stone when I was like 15, 16, do you know what I mean, which is, it's never going to work. Definitely was not sustainable for me. So that's exactly it. It was like, you know, it wasn't small changes that I was making, it was like trying to, you know, eat like a bodybuilder, for example, do you know what I mean, in a cutting phase, that kind of thing, which was just never going to work. And the other thing as well was my mindset. Like my whole mentality with it just wasn't there. Like, I liked the idea of losing weight and going and looking like everyone else, but I never had or understood what it actually takes to do that.
Do you think that when you accepted it wasn't going to be a short term, you accepted it was going to be long term, that made a difference?
Well, that is one of the biggest things. Like when previously, like when I'd tried to lose weight, it was all like, all right, okay. For example, the first time that I went to Ibiza with everyone from school, naturally I'm like, oh no, I'm going to have to go down to the pool, top off. Do you know what I mean? And I hated the way that I looked. Do you know what I mean? I'm about 10 stone heavier than everybody else that's gone. So that was always my thing. Like, all right, okay, well I'm going to lose 8 stone in 4 months by starving myself. And then I would last a week or two, maybe 3 weeks, and I would go right back to square one, start eating more and more and more, and lo and behold, I'd put on weight. And then what I was always thinking to myself is, if like 6 months down the line, for example, I'd be looking and I'd be like, right, okay, so last time I weighed myself, I was 20 stone, now I'm 22 stone. See, if I just made small changes and I was just gradual with it, losing a pound a week, for example, then I'd be a lot better position than what I'm now, rather than trying to rush it. So that is another big thing. I realised that, you know, the Rome wasn't built in a day.
Because I wasn't building it?
Because you wasn't building it, exactly.
Talk me through that, because that's quite an interesting thing that you said, and I used to get the same thing going on holiday and stuff, and, you know, being anxious because some of my mates have got like 6 packs and some of them were just normal, and then there was me who was not normal in my head, you know what I mean? And used to wear t-shirts, used to kid on I didn't like getting in the pool and stuff, you know what I mean, because I used to wear t-shirts. That kind of what you done? Absolutely.
Like I would, I'm trying to think of examples. So like when we were going away in school holidays, I would just avoid the pool, like totally avoid it. Just be like, oh, I'm knackered, or I'm rough for the night before or whatever, so I'm not going to bother going to the pool, do you know what I mean? Or I fell asleep in the room, and that was just because like I was really self-conscious about my weight sort of thing. I think maybe like as I'd kind of settled in, like when we were in Ibiza, because we were there for 10 days the first time, and I think it was maybe like the second last day, I just was like, all right, do you know what, I'm going to get in the pool, and I was like literally boom right in. But when I was there, I was like, had total, I don't know if anxiety is the right word, but I just felt like everybody was looking at me all the time. And that's been the same, like, you know, through all kind of things like that, like going on holiday and all that. It always plays on your mind constantly. You're constantly thinking about your weight, and you're not actually enjoying anything that you're doing.
Interesting you say that, because like I say, I can totally relate to it, and I was the exact same myself. But how do you think that this always, you know, go back to how you feel, and, you know, it basically rules your life almost, being overweight? You're really anxious about aeroplanes, you're anxious about trying clothes on, you're anxious about people seeing you, stuff like that. Like, why do you think so many people's overweight then? Why do you think people are overweight and can't change? Because Glasgow in the West is full of people that are overweight, and fair play to you for doing something about it and losing weight. Also, I've done it as well. Yeah. There's a lot of people out there who are in the situation that we've been in, and either don't want to do anything about it, or are trying to do something about it and can't. Why do you think that is, in your opinion?
I think because it's easy, like everything's easy. It's easy to be it's easy to be overweight. It's easy to get yourself to that stage, do you know what I mean? And your mind's so good at creating excuses for it, like I'll start on Monday, or right, okay, well I'll eat 2 large pizzas, for example, because I'm rough, because I've done that. That kind of thing. It's you know, you're so stuck in your ways. Like, it takes a lot, and you have to give up a lot to, you know, lose weight, and it is tough. Like when I was 25.5 stone, for example, I did find it difficult, and like my mates, I would watch them like go out and be like eating all sorts of food and drinking, and still looking absolutely fine, do you know what I mean? Still having like a good body. And then there was me, and I wanted to do all of that, but I couldn't because of my weight, because I was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's hard to kind of like accept that and realise that, do you know what, I can't do this. I think that's one of the biggest things.
Brilliant. So we've got a kind of wee background story, kind of where you've been kind of coming up, and I'm not going to go into, like, you know, all through your youth and whatever else. So I want to take you forward to February 2019 when you reached out to me. So for people who don't know, I'm quite happy to say, your mum contacted one of my clients and says to me, could Derek maybe speak to Dean? And I've always said this, I've never really been a kind of guy that wants to go and reach out to somebody to try and help them. I've never done that because I don't believe that it works. I believe that they need to kind of reach out to me, you know.
Yeah.
And there's millions of, well, maybe not millions, but there's certainly hundreds of people out there that I could go and reach out to and try and help. But ultimately, I want them to help themselves and come to me. So obviously, like I said to your mum's friend, Gio, and I says, let Dean contact me and see what it is. Talk me through that. Talk me through what's going through your head and the build up to that. I think it was a Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, so basically I had, I've not really told that many people this story, so I must have been about, because it was the start of this year, so I must have been at my heaviest. 25.5 stone was when I had actually weighed in with you, so I don't know if maybe I was even heavier then, just kind of before that, but basically I'd went down to Birmingham for like our sort of winter conference. And we went down there on the plane, and for a start I couldn't get the seatbelt like buckled, which was standard, right, and I just felt really, really embarrassed about it. And I was sat beside this guy on, which would have been a Flybe plane, right, which only very big for like average folk, and certainly know somebody that's 25.
We're not getting on them still, are we?
Right, exactly. So I'm sat there and I could feel this guy like thinking, Jesus Christ, I'm stuck beside this guy, do you know what I mean? So there was that, and then we went down to Birmingham, like had the sort of meetings and whatnot. Then we were going go-karting as a team building exercise, and basically I went to go to the go-karting, so you have to put on like one of the like boiler suit type things. So got the biggest one that there was, far too tight, like I couldn't even, you know, go like that in it, it was that tight, and that was the biggest one. Went to get into the go-kart, couldn't actually move to get into the go-kart because it was that tight, and I like fell because I was too big for the go-kart, fell on the engine, and like burnt my hand, right? So again, I just played that off as like a joke, but that really, really hit home for me. So I remember like I jumped out because my hand was killing me, and I was like, something needs done about this. So then I was out like a couple of days after for one of my mate's birthdays when we'd come back up the road, and it was just worse. Like it was just playing in my head. So then that's when obviously I didn't turn, said to my mum about potentially like getting me to speak to you, that kind of thing, and then taking it from there. So when that was all sort of taking place, I was really nervous because I thought like this is the real deal. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not a case of you're just letting yourself down, sort of thing. I'm getting that accountability as well. It felt really, really serious. So naturally I was nervous, but I was really excited because I felt like I've actually got a chance to go to someone here who can help me, who understands me, because I always like would think to myself that nobody gets it. Do you know what I mean? So as much as like my mum would try and help me out and be like, so why don't you try this and do this and that and this and that, I felt as if nobody understood being that size and everything that I was going through. But obviously you're different because you've been in the position that I was in. So I was excited, but I was also really nervous.
I remember the phone call. We spoke for a wee bit, and I didn't have space. Well, I did have space because I got you in ultimately, but I mean, I was at where I thought was capacity, and probably a favourite of Gio. So I really liked Gio. I thought, you know what, I'll bring him in and have a chat to him. So I remember I brought you in for a consultation. Speaking to you like I do with most consultations, I kind of hover about at the back of the gym, and I keep a wee eye on kind of what they're doing down there. I remember looking down and seeing you. I think you felt out of place. You looked really, really nervous. You know, major anxiety. I could see it all in you. And then I took you into the consultation room, changing room. And I remember thinking to myself, I wasn't sure whether you were ready to change or not. I wasn't sure whether you were ready to commit to the challenge ahead, because it's obviously a big challenge, and you knew that. And I explained that to you at the time. You know what I mean? And I laid it on the path for you and says, this is what's going to be required. I know you like going to the football and all that, and I think football was a common denominator of what your downfall was, because that ended up leading you to the pub, which led you to poor food decisions and stuff the next day. And fair play to you. I mean, I never said to you like you need to stop going to football, because I can go to football, I drive to the football, as you know. So all these excuses that you had before that would be reasons for you not being able to do it, I kind of batted them away for you and says, no, this is what's required and this is what's in. We set on the journey from February. Yep. We're now in October, so that's eight solid months of training. You've lost, what, 5.5 stone? 5.5
stone now, yeah.
So I want to take you through the journey to where you've been, talk about some highs and some lows in the journey.
Yep.
I think the high for me anyway, I don't know if you would agree, but You went to do Chronic Hill a few months ago, which would be probably a low leading to a high, I suppose. Talk me through what happened.
Yeah, so I went to do Chronic with my mate Ethan and his missus. Went there. Also, I'd seen that you'd done it sort of thing. I was nervous. It's not something that obviously I'd ever done before. Do you know what I mean? That definitely wasn't a pastime of mine. So we'd parked the car and we thought, right, we'll go and do this hill because gyms were shut and whatnot as well. And I started and we were going up it. Now, for anyone who's done Chronic, like the start is the stairs. Then it kind of leads up onto the hill, and I was absolutely done in. Like, so I was, and mentally I was defeated because I was thinking this hill's absolutely massive. Do you know what I mean? At the time, and I just felt like I couldn't do it. Do you know what I mean? I got up halfway, and if I was myself, then I probably wouldn't have felt as bad. But because I was with A2, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, it was horrible. I just really didn't. I wasn't proud of myself. Do you know what I mean? And I thought I've still got such a long way to go, kind of thing. So I was beating myself up, and I was thinking, what if people find out about this? Oh, we went to do. Now they would never, tell people or make jokes or anything like that. But naturally, that played in my mind. What happens if people find out that I couldn't do this and they're judging me, all that sort of thing? So that was really tough at the time.
So you went and done Chronic Hill. I remember you sent me a picture saying I'm up Chronic Hill. And I laughed because I've done Chronic Hill a good few times. And I knew you weren't up Chronic Hill. You got halfway up and you sent me the picture. And it's exactly what I said to you. I says, that's no Chronic Hill. Chronic Hill's like still up a bit. You've got a bit to go. Now, I would say that to some clients and some clients I wouldn't, because I like to think that I can use a wee bit of psychology with clients and get into their heads. And I know what pushes clients and I know what doesn't. And I learned this off Tony, who really, he used to give me such a hard time with some stuff that I would do, and he always tried to push me more on that, and that's kind of where I got that for. So I said to you that that's no Chronic Hill. This was on the Sunday, and then on the Thursday, what happened? Or was this on the Thursday and then the Sunday? So it was one or the other. Yeah, so they basically, I did that midweek. So I did. Okay. Yeah, and then I just wasn't, like I said, I really wasn't happy with myself, and I thought I do want to go back and do it. But what I'd done was I did like a 10-kilometre kind of circuit at the Greenock Cup. So I did that. I was comfortable with that. I did find it pretty hard. There's like a hilly bit at the end of that. I found it challenging. So anyway, that was fine. So I'd came back. From that, a couple of days later, I was going to do it again, and I was just thinking as I was driving in the motorway. Who did you go with? Sorry. So when the second time. The second time, myself. Yep. So I was driving to go and do the cut again, and I ended up, turning back, and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go and do Chronic. So I just went on my own, and in my head, I'm like, I'm going to get to the top of this. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was really psyched up for it. I was buzzing. Like, I remember texting you and saying like I was going to go and do the Greenock Cup, but I'm going to go and do Chronic myself, give it a go. I'd said to a few of my mates as well. And I went, and I did find it really challenging. I think it took me like an hour and 5 minutes to get up it. But I did it, do you know what I mean? And what I feel like, I remember like feeling as if I'd actually conquered like Ben Nevis at the time. Like, that's fucking Chronic Hill, conquered, 740 metres, 21 stone, geez it. It was such a good feeling. So, talk of the difference in a few days. Physically, you're the same, like physical, ability. You're not any fitter. Might be a wee bit fitter if you're going doing your 10k walk, but that challenge then becomes a mental challenge. Yeah. So what's the difference the second time?
Oh, the difference, like when I was actually going into that, it was like I never had any kind of expectation for myself. I just thought that, all right, okay, we'll do this, we'll get it done. And initially, I wasn't like, I thought, oh, I've given this a really good go. Do you know what I mean? Then all that kind of anxiety, like I was talking about, like what if people find out that I couldn't do this, and that had started to set in. Whereas the second time, I was like kind of riled up for it. I thought, I've got something to prove here. Like I'm getting to the top of this, and I'm showing everybody that I can do it. So it was all mentality. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't get like you said, like insanely fitter over a few days.
The reason I say that is to make a correlation of kind of dieting. When somebody gets involved with a diet, they think, I'm going to start my diet on Monday, and they go and do it and they don't really fail. Yeah. But when somebody starts, a journey like what you did, it's almost the exact same thing where you know, you maybe say, do you know what, this is what I'm going to go and do. You go and tell people, you become accountable for what you're going to do. Like you did, you came in to see a trainer, you started your journey and you went ahead with it. Like other people maybe start themselves and maybe they're accountable to themselves, and the way I always look at that is if you're accountable to yourself, you've let yourself down a million times, see you let yourself down one more time, it's not really going to make much difference. But if you start putting it into somebody else or something else, and you're thinking, you know what, I'm going to do it, here's exactly what I'm going to do and here's how I'm going to do it, and you either document it, you tell people, and you go and do it, that's the difference that time for me.
Yep, 100%.
So we'll move on for that. Your training's obviously been going really well, obviously we're through lockdown and stuff like that. Through lockdown, I think you lost about 17 kilo through lockdown, would that be about right?
Yeah, definitely. I've lost a lot of weight, like probably the biggest chunk going through lockdown.
And that would have been easy for you, for your old lifestyle, for lockdown. I mean, we've spoken about this before, and you say lockdown would have been a fucking haven for you before.
100%.
Your mum's at work, you've got free reign of the fridge, you've got free reign of the cupboards, nobody's going to be there. That would have been, you'd have been in your glory before, you know what I mean?
100%, like that's exactly it. I think if everything was the same except I hadn't started training with you and we had lockdown and we had COVID, I would be sitting at about 32 stone, 31 stone or something like that just now, because my problem was, like, I felt really uncomfortable eating in front of people, like going and getting like these like huge scrans, and my mum would obviously, she'd be like, Dean, come on, like sort of thing, and she just basically wouldn't let me eat like ridiculous portions, which is which is fair enough. But like in lockdown, I was in the house, so I wouldn't have been getting any steps in. I definitely wouldn't have been going walks if I hadn't started, and I'd literally, just because I was still working through the pandemic just from home, so I'd just been phoning pizzas and like Just Eat and whatnot all the time. Would go up to the shop at the top of the road from my house in my car, so I would and get loads of like sweets, cakes, whatever, and I would just polish them whilst
it's interesting you talk about feeling like embarrassed about food. Like I used to get that as well. You're in a restaurant and like I would have a starter and a main, and wouldn't really order a dessert because I'd be too embarrassed. I'd be thinking people were running about me and be like, look at that big fat guy ordering 3 courses. Where now that I can sit in a restaurant and I can quite easily eat 3 courses and I can have a bit of somebody else's, and I feel good about that. Like I'm not good about the fact that I'm doing it, but I don't feel that anybody's judging me on it. But what I would have done before was, had a starter, had my main, and then drove to the dessert shop and had a dessert, because they didn't know that you've just been at the restaurant. You know what I mean?
A starter and a main. Yeah, what I was doing quite a lot at the time, like just on that, which is so bad. Like I was talking to my manager in work, Ross, about this as well. But basically, what I was doing is, like, in the morning, I would go in. My mum would make me like my pieces to take to work for my lunch, which I would eat in the car driving to work. So I would eat them in the car in the morning, go through to lunchtime, and I would go to the cafe at my work and get like a wrap, chips, curry sauce, soup, packet of crisps, and a bottle of Iron Brew, and eat it like at lunchtime and not think it was in it. Well, I kind of knew there was an issue with it, but I wasn't judging myself for it, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? And then I would go home, and on my way home, I would stop at like the McDonald's drive-through and get two double cheeseburgers and 2 mayo chickens. And I would eat them driving from McDonald's to my house, and then I would go in, see my mum, and I'd be like, oh yeah, no, my pieces were lovely that I had for my lunch. Do you know what I mean? And I'd be like, when's dinner? I'm looking forward to my dinner, and then eat that as well.
The reason I'm no surprised at that is because I've done it. I've done that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I've told you, I think, before about the story with the Domino's pizza. I've ordered 2 pizzas to my house and cookies, and I told the driver. I didn't tell the driver, but I made out that somebody was in the living room when I was getting it delivered, because I was embarrassed. I wanted him looking at me thinking, this big fucking fat idiot's ordering 2 pizzas, you know what I mean? And you'd make excuses. And I've spoken about that before, about like kind of Just Eat and stuff. You can actually leave notes on the instructions to tell the driver to leave it at your door, so you don't have to be shamed about what you're ordering, you know what I mean? And it gets ordered instantly straight to your house. It's mad. So we spoke about through that, Conic Hill. You spoke to me, after Conic, you and Callum Shaw started kind of doing hills and stuff, which was great, and you were asking me, and then you said to me, do you think I would be able to do Ben Nevis? So I'll take you through what I thought about that. When you asked me, I'd only done Ben Lomond at this point, so I'd never done Nevis, so I didn't really know what it was like. But like we spoke about with chronic, and I know physically you've got to be a wee bit fitter, more fitter to do Ben Nevis than you have chronic, you know what I mean? I still believe that it'll be a mental challenge for you. I think physically,
100%.
I think high 90s are capable of doing Ben Nevis. I think it's a mental challenge for most people. And I told you that, I says, I think your challenge is going to be the mental one, you know what I mean? You kind of threw me in at the deep end and you're like, listen, I'm doing Nevis, you have to do it with me. And I'd never done it as well. I was at my comfort zone and done it. So last week, what happened?
Did Ben Nevis, me, you and Shaw. Managed to go up and get to the top of it, and I have to say I did find it really, really difficult because it kept going and going and going. Do you know what I mean? But I remember like thinking back to when I was doing chronic, like the second time when I actually did complete it, and I thought this is so hard, but I was buzzing. Do you know what I mean? I had that like buzz. I was like, you're going to do like the biggest mountain in the UK, and 9 months ago, like you wouldn't even walk to the hill at the top of the road to go to the shop and buy a big bag of Doritos.
We'll talk about the contrast to where you were to where you are now. In just a minute, but talk me through Nevis. Talk me through maybe, you know, how did you feel? Obviously we got the hotel, we stayed in the hotel. How did you feel in the morning of it? Because I mean, you spoke a wee bit about it to me when I asked you how you were, but how were you feeling?
Yeah, so in the morning, when we woke up, like it was a really good like time to get up. I was buzzing, sort of thing, and it got to the morning, and I was nervous, because I'm thinking like all these people know that I'm doing it. I've got accountability with virtually everyone in my social media. Do you know what I mean? Loads of people had been sending like messages of support, and obviously I had a June Shaw with me. But I was nervous. I was looking forward to it, but I was still nervous because I did have in my head, what if you are not like physically fit enough to do this? So that was like totally lingering, you know, in the back of my mind. And as we were going and going and going, I did find it tough. So I did as well. So the nerves were definitely there. Absolutely.
I was nervous as well, but I probably couldn't show my nerves because obviously I was kind of trying to get you and see you. I thought you'd done amazing. You went up and done it, and I think there was more mourning for me coming down than there was anybody else. But no, it was great to be able to do that. Talk me through the top. Talk me through the last few steps you get to go to the top.
Yeah, so obviously I was a wee bit slower than you, and we met up at the top because I hadn't maybe seen these for like 15 times.
I mean the very top. I mean when we walk up there, you see the summit and you make the last few steps to how you actually felt.
Yeah.
I mean you raised money as well.
Yeah. So the feeling of like going to the top, because it was really, really misty, and obviously it was me and you like the last few steps, and I was like in agony, like my legs were really, really, really sore. So they were like every single time I was taking a step, I was getting cramp in my quad, then getting it at my calf. But like the feeling of getting to the top was mint. It was so good. Like I just stopped for a second, and I was like, you've actually just like done this. It was just an outstanding feeling. So it was brilliant. I think to this far, it's up there with one of the highs, if not the biggest high of the journey so far.
I'm going to talk to you about that because we'll move on for that, and that's where we are. And obviously, we've set some more goals kind of for the tail end of this year and for next year, which we don't need to talk about that. But talk me through any moments that you've had through the journey where you thought, I can't do this. Even since you started with me, like, has there been any moments like that? You know, has there any moments you thought, you know what, I can't do this? Yeah,
I think so. Like more so at the start, where I was like, you know, I was putting in loads and loads of effort, and I was still like 25 stone, or I was like 24 stone after I had like my first few weeks. So I mean, I was still like looking at myself and thinking, you've got so much to go, because it is a really, really hard task. Like in my head, at the time, you know, thinking I've literally got 10 stone to lose, which is mental. Like, there's people that don't even weigh that much, and I've got that to lose. So that did play on my mind a lot. So it was like, okay, you've lost a stone, but Dean, you need to do another 9 stone. Like that was going round and round and round in my head for a while, up until a good wee while ago. But what I've kind of noticed now is that I've just kept plugging away at it. I just don't let that get into my head. And you know, now I've only got 5 stone to lose, for example, to kind of get where where my next sort of target is as well. And I think the biggest thing that I was doing, which was one of the first things that you'd said to me, is that motivation is just an emotion. Like that hit home for me.
You're still in my job here. I'm supposed to say all this stuff.
But yeah, that was like the biggest thing for me. Is like it's commitment and hard work. And as long as you put that in consistently, then I'm going to get to where I want to be.
Take yourself back to when you came in February to start to where you're at now in October. In terms of the physical change, which is there for all to see, you know what I mean? The physical change when the actual end of the picture, the end that sees it is remarkable. But for me, the biggest change in you is mentally. Like I see a young boy now. I see a young boy enjoying his life now. And that's what I see, and that's the biggest thing for me to be able to help you get a sense of your life back. You know what I mean? I don't know what you were like before because I never knew you then, but I knew what you were like when you first came in to see me to what you are now. You're much more confident, and it's genuine confidence. It's not that fat guy confidence what I had, and it's trying to be brash and pretending that you're happy and all that. I genuinely see that in you. You know what I mean? Talk me through the mental change in you.
Definitely, like I think before, I mean I've always been like outgoing, but I think that is because I had been playing up to this character. Do you know what I mean? That funny fat guy sort of character, definitely. But I remember when I came in here, I think it was like a Monday or Tuesday night, when I'd come in to see you and the gym was like absolutely jumping, and I was like, you're not hiding in here sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? I was really nervous, and I was kind of like my true self when I was sort of talking to you, because I was just being totally honest about how I felt. Whereas now, like I'm a lot more confident, do you know what I mean? I'm a lot more happy, and like I'm going out and I don't feel like it's constantly like my weight and all that is playing on my mind. Like I can actually go out and like enjoy life, and do you know what I mean? And I'm not where I want to be yet, but like in terms of the mental difference, it's like totally night and day.
You come into the gym and stuff yourself and you're training yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wouldn't you have done before?
No, because I felt really self-conscious, whereas I come in now and I speak to like a lot of people in the gym that are great, do you know what I mean? And that is, you know, down to me being more confident and feeling like, I don't know if like I've got a right to be here is the right kind of phrase, but I feel like I kind of belong now, do you know what I mean? And that's been that whole sort of change for me.
Imposter syndrome. That's what that is. It's when you're self-doubt and you doubt about yourself and you think, I shouldn't be here, I don't have any right to be here, I don't deserve to be here, etc. Right, that brings us near enough to an end. What I want to just talk about now is, so the reason that I wanted you on the first one, because I think it'll be good. I think it's good for people to, you know, see real people. I don't want to be one of these guys that make up a podcast and bring on, you know, gangsters or bring on, you know, wannabes or bring on people that, all right, some people might like that, but I feel like my audience like real people, real stories, because I know that myself. I put it in my documentary and I got a lot of good feedback from it. If somebody's watching the now and they see themselves in you, what give me two things that you would tell them about getting started in their journey?
I think the main thing is definitely to just get it done now. Do you know what I mean? Like just quit the excuses, have that like honest chat with yourself and think about the long term. Do you know what I mean? Like your goals, and if you're like I was, like you're not enjoying life because all you're thinking about is your weight. You're going to work and you know you're speaking to people and you're walking away. And you're thinking, I wonder if they thought that I looked fat, this top's right tight. See all that sort of stuff. See if you're dealing with it every single day, because it takes its toll. Like it's absolutely brutal. The best thing that you can do is start. Like is just, you know, whether it's small changes. Don't like go and jump in at the deep end and be like, ah, right, I'm only eating rabbit food, and do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So just start and commit to the small goals and work your way up. And I think definitely reaching out to yourself, because you've obviously been able to understand, you know, everything that I've kind of went through, and you've really been able to guide me with regards to nutrition, training, and all the mental side of things. Like it's totally opened my eyes to.
Talking on that, and you're saying about kind of nutrition and whatever else, and you'd been the guy before that ate rabbit food, or you know you tried loads of different stuff. How many calories did you start when you started training with me? So
when I started training with you, the first, I think maybe 3-4 weeks, 3,000 calories. I was eating.
What was your thought process then?
Well, at first I was kind of like, I thought like, you know, I'm just going to go in and basically listen to whatever you say and totally trust it. And then when you said to me like, right, we're getting on 3,000 calories to start off, you know, we want X amount of protein, X amount of fibre, 3 litres of water, I'm kind of thinking to myself like, 3,000 calories, like that's nuts. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, how am I meant to lose weight on that? And lo and behold, I did. So
we go through a process where we start calories kind of high for most people, find out where we're at. We start cutting the calories down as you get more confident and stuff in the gym. We bring you down, we were at 1,500 calories. It's the lowest probably I would ever take any male anyway. How many calories are we on just now?
So just now I'm on 3,000.
So we went down and up, and on 3,000 you're still losing weight?
Yeah, exactly, which was a total eye-opener. Like when we started that kind of cutting phase, like my first week, I think I lost something like 8 pounds on input, like something mental, and obviously a little bit of that's water weight, but yeah, that just sort of carried on. And then when we were on, we're on 1,500, and I was losing weight, and I was training, like I'm doing a lot of cardio, and lifting as well. But then as we kind of came back up, I'm thinking to myself, like, I don't know how I feel about going back up. What if I start gaining weight and all that? But lo and behold, I was on 2,500 calories, and I think like on the last week of that, I lost like 4 pounds or something, 3 pounds.
So your body's reacting to that, and when we're increasing your calories up, we're kind of controlling where your metabolism's at. Your body's firing through all the good foods that you're putting in, and now we're on 3,000 calories or something. We're starting to ready to cut again. You know what I mean? So, in terms of people who are watching this, thinking, how did they get there? Was I giving you any kind of, I don't know, were you on any fad diets? Did you miss any meals? Did I tell you not to eat? Were we eating foods? Were we eating liquids? What was this? What kind of stuff have you ate over? Have you enjoyed yourself? Have you been able to go for Nando's, like stuff like that? What have you been doing?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, I've just been eating food that I like. Like literally, that's it. Like, so obviously the goals that we have is calories, water, protein, fibre. Do you know what I mean? And steps as well. But like on the actual diet side. And eat food that you like. Just as long as I'm hitting the calorie goals, you don't need to be eating mental stuff and cutting out all the foods that you like. And like I said, only eating like lettuce and salads and this and that. Like eat foods that you enjoy, sort of thing. I can go to Nando's. I go to Nando's pretty regularly, and just sort of factor that in. Make sure that I'm not like being ridiculous with it and getting like garlic bread, chips, halloumi, all that sort of thing, like the double chicken burger, just like small changes to that, and I'm still enjoying my food. I'm still getting to go out and have that social aspect of going for food with my friends, but it's not having a negative effect on me. It's been small changes like that, but I've not found it difficult. Don't get me wrong. There's been times, more so at the start, where I did want to go and eat like big bags of crisps and all that. But there's alternatives for that as well. Like you can get the pop chips, which have been a great saviour to me. And like a big bag of them's got like 350 calories in it. Do you know what I mean? So there's alternatives to that as well. You don't have to go and eat a full tube of Pringles and anything like that. A big bag of Doritos, tub of salsa, put cheese in the bag and all that. You don't need to do any of that.
Brilliant. So that brings us basically to an end of where we're at. What I'm going to do is let's say I brought you back on in 6 months' time. Where would you like to be in 6 months' time? Or a year? Let's say a year. Let's go a year's time. A year from now, where would you like to be? So in a year's time, I will be 21. I'll have graduated from university, hopefully. So I think by then I want to be a lot more muscular. I definitely want to have like another kind of 5 stone off. I'm sitting just now at 20 stone and like 2 pounds or something like that. So I want to get around about the kind of 15 mark and get myself under 100 kilos. Like for years, definitely since I was about 15, 16, when I was going to kickboxing and stuff, I always wanted to get under 100 kilo, and I've never been able to do it. I've just get further and away from it. So I mean, as times went on. So that is my biggest goal, and I do want to see definition. Like in my body, in my chest. Other than your calves?
Calves are already really built. Do you know what I mean? But other than that, that's the biggest thing for me. I want to get the next 5 stone off and ensure that I've built lots and lots of muscle on the way, and I look like you.
Brilliant. Right, okay, that's us finished. So thanks very much for tuning in, guys. Dean was my first guest. Tune in for the next guest, and thank you very much.